Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee. Come explore our world of coffee. Established in 2014, DeLuna Coffee is owned and operated by Ed, Courtney, and Brett Lemmix. Lifelong FSU fans and Seminole boosters. Ed, class of 79, and son Brett, class of 2009, along with Miss Courtney, can regularly be found tailgating near the Unconquered statue. Wake up with their breakfast blend called Five Flags, named after the five flags of their city, Pensacola. Higher caffeine because of the light roast. It is their unique blend of Mexican, Colombian, and Ethiopian Yirgacheffe beans. Use the promo code WARCHANT15 for a 15% discount. Visit DeLunaCoffee.com and check out their Facebook and Instagram.
From Tally to Cali,
it's time
to wake up.
Wake up, wake up. Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee.
Coffee's for closers only.
Now here's Warchant.com's Azan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Hey, yo, sweetie, you looking kind of pretty. What's a girl like you?
Wake up! What's up, everybody? It's Wake Up Warchant. It's fueled by DeLuna Coffee, DeLunaCoffee.com. Come explore our world of coffee. Bring that promo code along with you, Warchant15. Use it. You'll save 15% on the best coffee this side of heaven, as our guy Daryl in North Carolina would say, if he was a big-time coffee drinker. Warchant.com, ultimate Seminole sports source. Promo code's Warchant30 over on the website. Or you can just go over to our YouTube page, hit the thumbs up, and subscribe to the YouTube page. It's totally free. Again, just get closer. Get closer to Corey. Get closer. Find yourself closer to Ira and Jeff. Friends. Yeah. Develop relationships. Bond. Do it. Do it now. Corey, how are you, man?
I'm good, buddy. How are you doing?
Good. Good. Solid. We got a off week, but we're still cranking stuff out, doing our thing. Might be doing a live show later today. Might not. But whatever. We'll figure it out. You guys will know. You'll see it on the website somewhere. So day's going good. Covered practice. Got a workout in on Tuesday. Tuesday was good, but now the calendar turns to Wednesday. Interested to see what Mike Norvell is going to say after practice. See if he maybe gets a little bit better emotional response out of his guys. I thought they looked quite good on Tuesday, man. I thought they practiced well. I thought Jordan looked really good. And then afterwards, Mike wasn't all that excited. Didn't really want to, it was a little bit of a weird sort of setup because since it is the off week, they're being a little bit easier on the guys. I don't want to say that. I mean, if he heard me, he'd probably be upset about that. So I don't even know how to describe it. But basically, practice ended for the ones and twos, the upperclassmen, and then he literally ran over to us and spoke to us for 5 minutes, and then he ran back up the hill to the IPF to then coach the rest of practice with the younger folks that are getting, I guess, some more reps or a little bit more concentrated one-on-one time. Because, again, it's an off week, so maybe that kind of played into him not being all that happy because he knew he was in a rush. But, yeah, it's like, hey, man, you got 2 wins in a row. I mean, as long as the creek don't rise, 3 wins in a row, you'll go 4 whole weeks without losing a football game. Can't remember the last time that happened around here. But he was just saying that, every day's an opportunity to get better, and you got to take advantage of it. And it seemed like maybe some guys weren't playing up to the standard that he wants. But that's his prerogative. He can be mad. That's fine. Just thought they looked pretty good on Tuesday.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Jimbo would have some of those days. Now, obviously, the teams that Jimbo would do that with were better than this one. Like, they were challenging for championships. But you knew every so often, I don't know if it was the truth or he was just trying to send a message that something bothered him. And he would come out and say, hey, these guys got to want it. These guys got to want it. The good isn't good enough. Like, all these things he would say. Yeah. And maybe that was Norvell, like, kind of just like, kind of like, guys, you haven't accomplished anything. You haven't arrived. You're not good enough to think that you've arrived. So I'm going to put you back in your place. Even if it wasn't a terrible practice, he wants that message to be they've got to be better than that. Now that the standard has been raised, don't dip back down to blow it. That's your baseline now. That's your floor. So I assume that was the message. And one of the players, I think it was even Pokey maybe, said that he didn't think they practiced all that well. But maybe he was parroting what the head coach had said. But either way, yeah, it would be weird if every day Norvell was just gushing about how well his team practiced, because that's not that doesn't happen. Nobody does that.
Yeah, it does beat the alternative, right? I'm glad he's a little critical and him just coming out there every day. Oh, it's great. Yeah.
Got it all figured out.
Yeah, I'm going to get my my measurements done for the statue they're going to make of me.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right.
I don't know if they measure you. You think they measure you before they make statues of you?
Well, I mean, I don't know how you would call it, but I'm sure you have to like sit down to get like, I know. I'm sure they don't just look at a stock photo of you. You probably go into the sculptor and they take different angle photos of you so they can properly sculpt your face and such.
It would be funny if they did that with Bowden, like maybe made Bowden stand there pointing for like an hour and a half while they got all the measurements right. That would be, or Dunlap doing whatever he's doing on his statue that nobody sees.
I liked when after Coach had passed, people were coming to pay homage to him by leaving flowers at a statue, and I swear somebody was like, "Is that a life-size statue of him?" And I was like, "Come on!" I mean, hey, he was bigger than life, though. He was bigger than life,
he was 9 feet tall.
Yeah, so. All right, hey Corey, let's get on these ponies, man. Let's giddy up. Let's gallop. Samurai _ Nole. Wake up, gents. Greetings from the land of the rising sun. So shout out Scottsdale. Stand up. Going into a bye week with a win, some apparent momentum in the growth department is a far cry than I think anyone thought we might be after the Jacksonville State craziness. With that in mind, does the coaching crew make the same mistake here by preparing for this game like a scrimmage for Clemson? Oh, yeah, that dovetails well into what we kind of spoke about a few seconds ago there.
It's a really good question, right? Like you have to hope that they learn their lesson. Like Jacksonville State would be favored against UMass probably. Like this is an awful football team.
Yes.
And these coaches know that. They understand that. But yeah, I don't think you can't do the message they sent that whole week. Like we're going to do this stuff where both quarterbacks are in the backfield together, and Jordan's going to get a series, then Milton's going to play most of the game, and we're going to punt left-footed, and all this stuff they did that was just completely felt. If you're practicing that stuff during the week, it makes it feel like it's not a real game, in my opinion. And then they played like it wasn't a real game. And it came back to bite him with the worst loss he's ever going to have at Florida State. But you would hope they'd learn their lesson. And yes, if they play well, they should be up by a large enough margin that Chubba Purdy can get some time. Those younger receivers, Portier and if Burrell ever gets healthy, I guess.
No, he's still not.
Yeah. So Portier and Williamson gets on the field more. Jordan Young, maybe. I know he's not young, but get some of those. Toafili. Get those guys some playing time. Our man Shaheem Brown.
Yes.
But don't do it in the first quarter. Wait till you get up. Wait till you get up by 35 points. Tell that, if you guys get up, you can have the last quarter and a half off. But get up and don't tell Jordan Travis not to take hits, to not run like he normally runs. We should be able to move the ball up and down against the field against this team, whether you're doing your thing or not. No, treat it like a real defense in a real game. And then when you get to the middle of the third quarter, you can start treating it like a scrimmage, in a glorified scrimmage. But until then, yeah, approach it differently. And that it's a really good question. It's something I've thought about. It's like, how are they going to approach this game? Because they desperately want to play some of these young guys. They desperately need to. On the defensive line, they've got to get the older guys some rest. Jermaine Johnson can't be playing 70 snaps the rest of the season. They want to build some depth with these young guys, but don't do it. Don't do anything differently than you did against North Carolina until you're up by 4 or 5 scores, and then start sprinkling that stuff in. That would be my advice.
What would you do if the second series on offense they roll out both quarterbacks?
I'd leave the press box.
I'd be so mad.
I'd leave the press box and be like, I'm not. This is crazy. But they won't do that. I trust that they won't do that. There's probably a thought to them that, like, why don't we give some Chubba some early reps? Maybe that would be something you could maybe think about. But even then, you don't do it. Chubba can get all the reps he wants once the offense puts up 40. Then let Chubba and Rodemaker play. Let Toafili get some snaps. Whatever you got to do. But before, in the young offensive lineman. Before that, though, you've got to play just like you played the last 2 weeks. Don't revert back to what got you in trouble in September, thinking you're better than you are. Oh, we played Notre Dame close. We took them to overtime. We can kind of half-step against Jacksonville State and still win comfortably. We can do some goofy things to try to put stuff on film. for the teams down the road. We know we can still handle this team by 4 touchdowns. Don't make that same mistake again. Don't.
Well said, Corey. Second part of the question from Samurai Nole, jumping topics, realizing, parenthetically, he adds, to my chagrin, I did not know what qualifies as a sod game. Do you know of any resources where someone could get schooled in more of the great traditions this program has and maybe some of the backstories? Arigato, parentheses, thanks, and enjoy some great football with some better coffee. Hashtag DeLuna Coffee. Go Noles.
Ooh, NoleFan.org?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if they have I assume they have like a little tab that says traditions, but yeah, you got the Sod Cemetery, Osceola and Renegade. There's some other ones, right? They got some cool ones. Those are the two main ones.
The Heinzman.
Okay. Yep. There's
They
that.
haven't given away the Heinzman in a while. I think did Jimbo discontinue the Heinzman?
I thought they gave it away. They don't do. Maybe they did. Maybe or maybe Taggart did. I don't feel like we've seen it since Norvell took over. So maybe Norvell did. Who knows? But yeah, those I'd say NoleFan.org. In fact, I looked that up while Aslan asked the next question.
Well, actually, this is kind of for you, Corey. These are some comments that have been posted on the Tribal Council when I put our show up, and this is from Grumpy BK. I don't know if he's on the ponies today. He likes commenting on episodes, but he doesn't necessarily post comments for us to talk about on this episode that's dedicated entirely to you people to let your voices be heard. This was from Monday. He asked you, what game, Corey Clark, out of the next 3 do you think is the toughest? I mean, I don't know. I think he's thinking not counting UMass. It was just announced earlier in the week that De'Aaron King is done for Miami for the year, shoulder surgery. Aside from his scramble ability, I thought they've looked very beatable to me, even with him. With him out, the game in Doak, we win that game if we play remotely close to how we did Saturday. So I guess what would that be then? Was that Clemson, North Carolina State, Miami? Are those the next 3 after UMass? Is that correct?
Yeah.
I'll look up the schedule while you.
I mean, look, it's at Clemson. It's the toughest remaining game. Then Florida's number 2, or maybe you flip those. I don't know. But either way, those are definitely the 2 toughest. Yeah, Miami is imminent. Miami was beatable clearly before De'Aaron King got hurt. They're imminently beatable now. I would imagine, depending on the status of some players on this football team and how healthy they are, I would imagine Florida State will be favored in that game now when it's played at Doak. So you got that going for you. But yeah, that certainly makes that game more winnable. It's not a guarantee. If they do play like they did play against North Carolina, yep, they win that probably comfortably. But that's a big if. We got to see if they can stack these performances on top of themselves. But yeah, they have a chance now. That's not something I probably would have said a month ago.
Hey, Miami, I don't know if they play the way they did against North Carolina, they can win. I don't know if they'll win it comfortably or however you qualified it. I think Miami's got a better defense. I don't know. At least they're more talented, and I think they'll play up for that game at a different level than what North Carolina played at. But no, I certainly feel good.
Yeah, but I think Miami, and I don't know how you quantify it, but it's like that David Hale ESPN research. Like they're literally like the worst tackling team in the country. Now they played, that Michigan State running back can play, and then that Virginia quarterback's hard deal. He's hard to tackle. Like they played some good teams and some good players, but yeah, they have not been. They've been about North Carolina-esque when it comes to defense this year. App State puts points on them. They didn't hold Alabama down.
They did not.
But I talked about that on headlines. Our team's going to be just done scheduling Alabama. What is the point to start your season with a loss that more often than not completely derails the season? What's the point of it? It's crazy these teams do that. I wonder who's playing them to start out the season next year. But they're going to lose. And then they're going to lose a lot more. They're going to lose a few more games after that.
I wonder, a good question would probably be if they play like they did against North Carolina, who would they not be able? I mean, what would that not be enough the rest of the year on the schedule? Island Chief also. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say probably the 2 I mentioned, Clemson. I think everybody else they beat if they play like that. Clemson, I just can't fathom you running for 250 yards against Clemson. Venables will figure out a way to not have Jordan Travis run crazy against them. And can Jordan Travis make, more importantly, can those receivers get open for Jordan Travis to make plays downfield? I don't like their chances in that game. I just think that's a tough matchup because Clemson's defensive line is so good. But other than that, maybe Florida too. I think
Boston
Florida.
Boston College is going to be a really tough game too, I think.
Sure, but I don't think Boston College doesn't have guys like Clemson on the defense that are that athletic and that fast.
But they're
disciplined.
Good. They're disciplined.
Yeah, they're good up front, but they've always been disciplined up front. And Florida State, by and large, usually puts points on them because they just have better athletes.
Well, they haven't played
well,
athletes.
maybe. We'll see, right? I mean, they got some games between now and then. Boston College is good. I'm not saying that it's gonna be a cakewalk for them, but I don't know if Boston College's linebackers deal a lot with guys like Jordan Travis running. I don't know. We'll see.
Island Chief.
We'll see how they play against Syracuse.
True that. Well, Clemson's got Syracuse first. Aslan Corey let us and none of the team assume UMass victory. What is the record coming home? 3-2 as a ceiling? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, 3-2 would be incredible. Like that'd get you to 6 wins. And you're looking at that stupid Jacksonville State game, like, golly, that's 7 wins, and a bowl would have gotten us 8 wins. I think 3-2 is the absolute ceiling. We're counting 4-2 if you want to count the UMass game. They would have to beat, Miami at home, NC State at home, and Boston College on the road. Those are not easy tasks, any of them. None of them are gimmies. Nothing with this team is a gimme, but I think I think those are doable. It's not impossible. Like I said a month ago, again, not even a month ago, 2 weeks ago, with 4 minutes to go against Syracuse, I thought they were going to be I was covering a 1-11 football team. Like that was their ceiling. I was like, well, they're going to lose this game. They're going to get blown out by North Carolina. They'll come back and beat UMass and then lose out. Well, now these last 2 games, these last 2 weeks have changed my outlook. And, if Jordan Travis can play like that and the defense can not give up just wide open touchdowns, make teams earn it like they did against North Carolina, fight for balls, then they can. Those teams aren't incredible. You can beat those teams.
Isn't this the kind of cool thing, though, is that for so much of the entire offseason, it's all conjecture, it's all projections. What if this happens? What if that happens?
Yeah.
But now, either Jordan stays healthy, quote unquote, however healthy is used to define him and what he has to deal with. He's either going to stay healthy and they'll probably win 3 more games after UMass, and you feel good about what 2022 can be, or something happens and he's not able to make it through the entire season. And then, I guess at that point, I don't know if is it being unfair. I don't think it's being unfair. Probably at that point you can say, well, this is just simply, it's a temporary thing, or I don't know. We can maybe start a season off with him, but we need to have a really good plan B for when we inevitably lose him.
Yeah. Well, I think that's I think that's what you feel going into 2022, no matter how the season ends. I don't know that all of a sudden his body is made of something different, or he's sucking it up more than he has. I don't know, but I do think going into next year, you can't just be like it's ride or die with Jordan Travis. You've got to get.
Even if he makes
one
it
other
through
guy ready.
Even if he makes it through the rest of this year, you still don't think
I think so, because it's still the early part of this year happened. Like they wanted to play him in the second half against Wake, and they wanted to play him against Louisville. They couldn't. He wasn't available. So that's every year now that there's been times where he hasn't been available. Now, if he goes through these last 8 games and can play all 8 games, you definitely feel better about it, right? But you're still not. I mean, you're even if you the toughest guy in the world, if you snap an ankle on a freak play, you got to have a backup that can play. You've got to have a backup ready that you feel confident in, and maybe the offense will be in such a place that you don't drop. The drop off isn't that much. So we'll see, man. We'll see. But it sure would be nice to see what this looks like if he plays the next 6 games.
If variety is the spice of life, well, then adding cryptocurrency to your financial portfolio is, I don't know, like a Carolina Reaper pepper. Just add the heat. If you're interested in investing in cryptocurrencies, and you probably should be, you don't know where to start. I didn't either until these folks told me about themselves. They're called Kraken. With their app, you can buy and sell over 50 of the most popular cryptocurrencies out there, and it's super easy to get started. Just download their app. It's called Kraken, Kraken. Create an account. You can invest in minutes. And again, Bitcoin's like $57,000. How am I going to do that, Aslan? It's only one of those. It's like one coin. How can I? It's okay. You can get a fraction of it. $10.
You can get bits of it. You can get little bits of it.
Bits of Bitcoin. Look at Corey.
Yeah.
Golly.
Mm-hmm.
Find out yourself why Kraken has been one of the highest rated places to buy crypto for the last 10 years. Not 10 months, not fly-by-night, 10 years. Visit kraken.com/warchant or search for Kraken, Kraken, in the App Store.
When it comes to salads, the fresher, the better. That's why at Zaxby's, we don't make your salad until you order it. Try our brand new Southwest salad with fire-roasted corn, juicy tomatoes, crispy Santa Fe tortilla strips, and our new Southwest ranch dressing. It's big enough to fill you up without weighing you down. The new Southwest salad. Get it fresh, get it customized, get it made to order. For a limited time, only at your neighborhood Zaxby's.
And don't forget to listen in for the Zaxby's indescribably good Player of the Week every Monday on Wake Up Warchant.
Moving along here on the ponies, we go to Bradley Moss, 22, double deuces, 2-2. Wake up. The bye week might be a good time to ask about uniforms. Devontae Love-Taylor on Trench Talk did not quite say exactly who makes the decisions on what uniform combo they wear on Saturdays. Any way to ask Norvell? It was so great to see back-to-back wins in non-traditional uniforms for once. Garnet on garnet, white on white. Been a minute since we wore those combinations and won. Do you guys believe in any superstitions when it comes to FSU uniforms? Thanks for the great coverage. Keep climbing, fellas. The bamboo just might be starting to sprout. Go Noles.
Amen. I don't believe in the superstition of the uniforms. You like the way they look.
I don't like wearing white on garnet against Florida unless it's like a, I don't know. Was 99? What was the 99 kickoff time? I just know that it gets later on in the year. It ggets darker earlier. There's something about wearing those uniforms at night in Gainesville that just gives me the warm and fuzzies.
Yeah, that was the 3:30 kick that 99 game. I think the PK Sam game was also 3:30.
Yeah,
I think that was white. So it's always white on garnet down there.
Yeah. Not always, but
I mean that era
13,
though it was a lot. That's weird.
Yeah. I mean 13, 17, 15. They were white on, with gold pants.
Yeah, it's traditional.
Jimbo's having a lot of fun.
I mean, I would hope that the only person that controls the uniforms is the head coach, and it's probably it's number 100 of his priorities for that week. But I'm not a huge fan of the players getting to choose that kind of stuff.
Oh, so you don't let Brady pick his clothes out, huh? Huh, Dad? You don't let Brady.
I don't let him. I don't like. He doesn't get to pick out the clothes of his the baseball team he plays for. Because who knows what combinations he'd come up with? They'd be wearing all kinds of goofy stuff, tank tops and biker shorts. Who knows? I think that I'm not trying to offend anyone, but Dylan Gibbons gets to choose what uniform that this program wears. This program was built long before Dylan Gibbons and Jarvis Brownlee. You came to Florida State to wear these uniforms. It's not Oregon. Once a year, maybe you could do something special if you want. If they earn it, you got to earn it. You got to earn that number. You got to earn that single digit. But other than that, man, look, it should usually be the same. But that's a good question. I don't know who chose white on white. I don't know if there's a committee or if Norvell's just feeling whatever he feels. But they obviously talk about it before the game, so that is a good question. Why don't we ask him that tomorrow, Aslan?
Maybe we can. Again, he's got a very small window because he's in between practices when he speaks to us during an off week. If there's a press conference Monday, which I would think there would be, but in our weekly meeting, you guys didn't seem to think there's going to be a press conference on Monday. But that one might be a little bit slower since it is UMass. I might even just pull out my phone and be like, "Hey, Coach, Bradley Moss asked." Because
that's not a bad idea, because then he's talking to a fan.
Yeah, because he doesn't
and
like
not you.
Right now.
Yeah, he doesn't like you, but he likes Florida State fans.
Yeah. So we'll see what we can do about that. Spartan Nole 71. Aloha, guys. How's it? That's Ralph in Hawaii, everybody. Spartan Nole 71. Now with the season at the halfway point, I wanted to ask for some midseason grades, quotes around grades, based on your expectations of how good or not so good some of the players looked during the spring drills and spring game. As always, mahalo for all that you do. Go Warchant, oorah. He didn't give us a list of who to grade.
Grade players?
Well, he didn't give us a list, so that's what I was thinking about. I think we might even have something along the lines of this in this vein coming up on the website here in the coming days, maybe next week or so. We went into the season, and the reason that, you kind of dreamed a little bit of a dream of maybe 7 wins. They're going to have improved quarterback play. We assume pretty safely because either Jordan Travis was going to make these great strides we heard about in spring were going to continue, or Mackenzie Milton was going to find a way to reclaim some of his greatness from his previous past. I don't know where we're at in terms of quarterbacks, but I feel like you and I, at least, we thought like 5-7, 7-5 was the reasonable window. They really are only like one game off that pace heading into the bye week.
And we know what game that is.
Yeah. So I feel like most everything would be a C. Like, I didn't think these receivers were going to be great. I don't think they've been just downright horrible. Like, nobody, maybe the only thing I would say is underperform, maybe the defensive backs. I just thought the secondary would maybe be a little bit better than they are, but perhaps they've turned a corner here recently. I know they've been beat up with some injuries, so maybe that's part of it as well. Like Miko, Renardo Green, these are guys that I liked, that I had pretty high up on my top 40, and they're nowhere to be found. So, again, like when you think a team's going to be 6-6 and you sit here 2-3 at the bye week, there's not a lot of failing grades to hand out, I don't think. This is kind of what we were bracing for. Again, they're one game off the pace, and it was a terrible, unforgivable loss. So, I don't know. Is there anybody maybe should we just go smaller? Like, is there anybody that's over? I think Dylan Gibbons is a guy that I was like, I don't know if he's really going to really start. With Bavion, Dante Lucas, and Schrader, if he was going to be able to be healthy, maybe a guy that get lost in the shuffle, but he seemed to have kind of fortified himself. So that's that to me has been a pleasant surprise. Somebody I maybe didn't have projected all that high. Is there anybody that you've been pleasantly surprised by, I guess?
Fabian Lovett, really Cooper too. Both those guys have been.
Lovett's,
I don't know if they're
Lovett's a real. Yeah, that's the answer, right?
I don't know if they're elite, but they're really good college football players, especially for this football team. Trayshawn Ward has been a guy that, if you asked me in the spring, I wouldn't have thought that was. I thought I was on the Toafili train, man. Like, I thought that was the guy they'd be riding. Ward has been one of their best players on the entire team. Grading, like, that's the thing, is when you look at this team as a whole, it's not any worse than I thought it would be at all. Like, the results are by one game, really, but the team is better than it was last year in every phase. Well, that's not true, not special teams. And if I was going to give a bad grade to any element of this team, compared to my expectations, relative to my expectations, would be special teams. They'd be a D-.
That's fair.
Everything else, the offense is better. Especially these last 2 weeks, really with that guy quarterback, the offense is better than I thought it would be. Well, they average whatever they average with him, 35 points per game when Jordan Travis is the quarterback. Problem is, he hasn't been the quarterback for the whole season. But with him at quarterback, they're better than I expected. The defense has made an improvement. Like, you look at the team by position, you're like, okay, Deloach is better than I thought he'd be. Still not great, but better than I thought he'd be. So you look by the position groups and by the units overall, offense and defense, you're like, well, they're better. They've gotten better. It's just a shame that the results don't say that, but they have gotten better. And that's why I keep bringing up my man Frimrau, because he speaks the truth. They've looked like a 7-5 football team.
Yes.
Last year, again, I know what their record was. Last year, they were a 2-10 football team. 1-11, 3-9, somewhere in there. When they lost awfully. They looked horrible. They were one of the worst teams in the United States. This year, they're not that. They've had some bad luck at the end of games, or whatever. Maybe not bad luck, bad skill, however you want to phrase it. But they're middle of the pack this year. Wouldn't you agree with that? Like, whatever their record ends up being, whether it's somehow 6-6 or 4-8, 3-9, they're better than they were last year. They're a middle-of-the-road team that will probably lose a couple games late in the fourth quarter, games that maybe last year they were blown out on. But they're getting better.
Yeah, I was trying to think. Tiers, that's the cool buzzword in podcasting now, is like breaking everything down to tiers. In terms of this conference, like I don't know where they're at, and I know Clemson is far and away better than everybody, even though their record doesn't indicate it. But I mean, I don't know how many tiers you would break the ACC up into, but I'd probably say that Florida State's like middle of the pack right now. So
yeah, but there's no, like last year they were blown off the field.
Yes.
By Pitt in the second half, NC State the whole game, Louisville the whole game. Like didn't compete, didn't even look like they belonged on the field with them. And Clemson would have, who knows what they would have done with them. Miami, that was ridiculous. So that's not happening anymore. I think last year they were probably, them and Duke were the two worst teams in the conference. Florida State is now middle of the pack, but they can play with probably anyone. They can't beat. I'd be stunned if they beat Clemson, but they can play with probably anyone now. Last year there were very few they could play with, so it's getting better. It hasn't been a rocket ship to the moon, still in those infancy stages, but it's getting better. So that's why I say it's hard to grade. I wouldn't look at anything other than special teams and be like that's a D-. Yeah. I'd say the offense is a B. I'd say the defense, relative to my expectations, has been a B- or a B. It's just the record doesn't show it because they gave up a 59-yard touchdown with 6 seconds left, leading by 3 points.
I give the defense a B-. I'd give the offense a C. I thought the offense. I thought McKenzie would be good.
Well, that's fair. I got you.
At this level, and it's not him; it's Jordan that's doing it. So they're kind of aligned with what I thought, and what the staff said when they got hired. Like, hey, man, we score. If you're a quarterback for us, you're going to throw for 3,500 yards and 30 touchdowns, and Jordan Travis will probably have, I don't know, close to 3,000 total yards. So that's kind of close enough, I guess. Because none of their quarterbacks were really all that adept at running the ball. So they find a way to work around it. So let's move on. Old dads and Nole, wake up. If you want to know why this coaching staff just may be the one, it is because obviously they read and listen to the Warchant staff and subscribers. Here's how. Earlier, we all... 13 L's. We all hated the overuse of the Wildcat. They scrapped it. Then we all hated the overuse of that awful wide receiver screen. They scrapped it. Then Saturday, they actually had Travis do the R part of RPO, or in that case, RO. For the most part, after a whole lot of complaining by everyone of running that and deciding pre-snap who was going to get the ball. Gosh, it was so nice to see that play, which is not rocket science, rather. Run like it's supposed to be.
Geology. That's what geology is. Rock science.
Yeah, that's right. Good for this coaching staff following Warchant. All right. Do they still throw the wide receiver? I hate the wide receiver screen. Just watching the NFL teams run it. I just hate screen passes, unless it's a middle screen. I like a middle screen pass. I hate swing passes. And I hate wide receiver, bubble screen, tunnel screen. I just hate them. I'll never like them. Never will.
A well-executed tunnel screen, though, is a thing of beauty.
It is.
But they're never very, at least not in my lifetime at this school, have I seen a lot of well-executed tunnel screens. But, buddy, when they hit, that is a thing of beauty. When it's blocked up and that fast guy gets going in the middle of the field, whoo, boy, that's pretty. Look, I think those wide receiver screens were for a reason. Like Dillingham did a really good job of explaining that. Actually, like that was the matchup. They knew they couldn't block that defensive front. Syracuse does have a good defensive front. They knew they couldn't block them, so they wanted to get the ball in their best playmakers' hands out wide. So that's why they put Corbin and Ward out wide. They weren't really wide receiver screens. They were running back screens out wide, but they did it for a reason. It was ugly at times. But I guess they put up 33, so it worked, and they hit some big plays off of it, including the touchdown to Keyshawn in the Syracuse game. I was confused with the Wildcat. I was confused with the vitriol towards the Wildcat because it was so good to them last year. That seemed a little too reactionary for me. That they're just like, we're just going to scrap it. Everybody's mad at us. It's like it's either a part of what you believe in or it isn't. But yeah, now they got Jordan running it. Third and down. It seems like on third down, third and short, and it didn't work every time on Saturday. That's the guy they want running he's the Wildcat. On 3rd and 3, he's the guy that's going to get the first down, or they're going to put the ball in his hands to try to get that first down. But yeah, they do. Look, you have to give them credit. Like they did not just bang their head against the wall and say, this is our offense. This is what we're going to do. Learn it or don't, but we're going to keep doing this even if we only score 16 points per game. No, they switched it up, and they've been hard to defend the last 2 weeks. 34 points per game the last 2 weeks, buddy.
Side note, says old dad's a Nole. Sorry, knocked the microphone away from my mouth. Side note, not being a Debbie Downer, I'm glad he wrote this because I can't say it, so it's somebody else. So yell at him, everybody. Actually, don't. He's an old dad. Be nice. But I feel like a lot of that is the success against North Carolina, was more about North Carolina, although we are improving. I had under on North Carolina, 9.5 wins for the season, so that's already cashed, but have to wait until the season is over to collect it. They were overrated from the beginning. Still love that game, though. Enjoy the break from the grind, old dad. Thanks, old dad.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not like they beat, Alabama or in Georgia. We know what North Carolina is. I guess my counter to that would be, I don't think anybody's doing bows as if they just beat a great team. Look at Florida State the last 3 or 4 years. They haven't looked like that on the road against anyone. Bad ACC team, awful ACC team, great ACC team. They looked horrible against all of them. And last year, especially on the road, was just abysmal. Was Miami real good last year? No, they weren't 52-10 good. So doing that against anyone is a step. The next step is to do that against good teams. But right now, Florida State's step that's in front of it is you got to beat the average teams to below average teams because they haven't been beating them either. So cover that step, get that out of your system, prove you can do that, and then you start taking on the Clemsons of the world. But by all means, you got to beat who's in front of you, and you got to beat average teams to get to be good.
Yeah, I just felt like UNC looked like Florida State did on defense last year. Like they just look so poorly prepared.
Yeah, but
again, credit to Florida State to your point. Like, yeah, they haven't looked like that against anybody since Dalvin Cook was around here. So yeah, you take it.
Well, right.
Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah, you take it. It counts.
I'm not giving it away. I'm not. But again, that's why. Again, my enthusiasm might not be nearly as peaked out as some of you folks, which just learn to live with it, or listen to one of the other 77 podcasts out there. XDQ004, this is Derek. Wake up! It's been about a month of working hard, but I'm back with a couple of comments and a question. I already looked at the question, Corey. It's a difficult question, but here we go.
All right.
Saturday was great. We actually had sustained drives and gave the defense time to rest. We look like a football team. We scored on 5 of 6 drives against someone other than Jacksonville State or Duke. My hope now is that we can get healthy after the bye week and finish strong. Yeah, man. Perfect. Well said. Yes. Well said. My question this week. Best FSU Big 3. All right, here we go, Corey. Casey Weldon, Amp Lee, Lawrence Dawsey. Charlie Ward, Warwick Dunn, Kes McCorvey. Chris Winkie, Travis Minor, Peter Warwick. Jameis Winston, Dalvin Cook, Rashad Green. Now, when I first looked at this, it says just their last names only, Winston, Cook, Green. And he spelled Green without the third E. And I'm like, Jameis, Dalvin, Christian? Like what?
Christian Green?
Yeah, I'm like, what, man? Dalvin and Jameis only cross paths for 6 games? So I feel that's not.
Yeah. When Dalvin was actually in the mix was about 6 games into that season.
And the thing is, of all this list, there's other than that, because then you're kind of massaging the facts to make that work. It's kind of like 2 guys, like 2 strong, and then a strong third, but strong 2 guys. Man, yeah. Ward Dunn,
it's the same thing with
Ward
but
McCorvey,
even like the Warwick Dunn one is like he didn't start. He led that team in touchdowns in '93, but he wasn't a starter. He'd get 8 touches a game. So it was kind of like, and I was going to say the same thing with Weldon and Dawsey and
Amp Lee.
Amp Lee was Weldon only played the half of that year in '90, and then Dawsey wasn't there in '91. If they'd had a Dawsey in '91. They'd have won the national championship. I promise you that. The receiver was the kind of the downfall of that team, honestly. So Dawsey would have really helped. So I still think all of them have like little issues. So maybe it's got to be Winky and Warwick and Minor. Like I think Minor's the least of those running backs you're talking about. And he was good. Don't get me wrong. He's a very good college running back. But I think Ampley, Dalvin, and Warwick Dunn were better. Dunn and Cook clearly better. But yeah, man, I think that you got to go with the Heisman winner and the best receiver in school history. It's a pretty good combo, no matter who the other running back is, no matter who the third guy is.
Well, then wouldn't it be Jameis, Rashad, and
No,
Devontae?
because they played the whole season together. I meant that. That was another thing. It's like Dalvin I don't think played in the Clemson game that year when Smag played.
They know. But
if he did, he got to carry.
What if we couldn't really swap? We could swap him out with Devontae. But
yes,
that's not
then
part
it's
of the
that.
question. That's not part of the question.
I think that it's Jameis, Rashad, and Devontae, but that wasn't presented to us.
It wasn't.
So with those choices, I think you go with Winky, Warwick, and Travis Minor, which is a good group there.
Matt AMC. Gosh. M. Adam CZ. It's Mark. He's not angry. He's always happy. Wake up! I actually wish it wasn't a bye week. By the way, Corey, is it bye week? Is it off week? Is it open week? What do you use? I've always said bye week, but I feel like this
I go
week.
bye week.
Okay.
Yeah, I go bye week.
The performance at North Carolina has me wanting to see this team play and beat a rival Saturday, as I truly think they could do it. What are your main reasons for why this year's team won't regress after a big win over a heavily favored North Carolina team? To me, the defense is just better and not letting guys just run wide open for easy scores, and there is no quit on either side of the ball even when they get down. And can posters on the tribal council stop bashing the offensive line? They are doing a remarkable job with all the injuries. Yes, Jordan Travis and the running backs are playing at a high level, but I think the offensive line deserves some credit. Agree? Yes. Yeah,
yes, absolutely. I mean, what if they had a good offensive line? Do people think they'd be running for 450 yards? You know what I mean? Like, what would a good offensive line look like, production-wise?
Yeah.
50 points, 400 yards rushing? I mean, they just ran for 250 yards. It put up 35 points on the road. Against Notre Dame, they ran for over 200 yards, well over 200 yards, I feel like. Or, right, yeah, I think. It's the fifth time in 6 games they've run for over 200 yards. I mean, you don't do that with a horrible offensive line. And if you do have a horrible offensive line and you are doing that, then you have the 3 best players in the country in the backfield with you that somehow have been able to manage to average over 200 yards rushing behind this, awful group of guys in front of them. Now, they're not great, and they've been banged up. But I do think that gives you hope too. Like, so that's what I disagree with Mark with is like I think this bye comes at the perfect time. You get to feel good about yourself for 2 weeks, which when you're a wounded program with a bunch of kids on a roster that have not gotten to feel good about themselves, it's cool that they get 2 weeks to do it. And by all means it should be 3 weeks. But also like Devontae Love-Taylor, somebody like that, like he can rest each of these next 2 weeks, and he really doesn't even need to play against UMass. Like, the difference between him and Bavion seems to be marginal, and you need him healthy. So get him healthy. I'm not saying I'm not going back on what I said earlier in the show. You treat this like a real game, but these guys need a break. And if you can steal him an extra week, then steal him an extra week. But I just think this team is really banged up. And not banged up like out for the season banged up. Just banged up like nicks and bruises and nagging injuries that they can't get right. And now they get 2 weeks to do it. So I think it comes at a perfect time. You should be able to, if you have a dip because you're coming off a big win, UMass should be a nice, elixir for that. But before you go into Clemson. So I think it comes at actually a pretty good time as long as they can get healthy. If they use these 2 weeks to get healthy, then it should, we'll see what it does, but it shouldn't hurt.
Okay, what about the first part? What are the main reasons for why this team won't regress? Did you answer some of that already?
I don't see it. Like, they're going to lose some games the rest of the year because the schedule got harder. But what did they do these first 6 games? 2
by
and
the way,
4.
They ran for 264 against Notre Dame, by the way, Corey.
That's crazy. With a horrible offensive line. So good grief. Corbin should win the Heisman. If they're going to lose some more games because they're playing better teams. But if you flip the schedule and now they were getting ready to play those first 6 teams, what do you think their record would be to close out.
Oh,
the way they looked against Carolina.
But that's not fair. They're saying they went 2-3 or 2-4 against like Clemson, Miami, Florida.
No, I'm not
Boston
saying the record will be the same. I'm just saying after you saw that North Carolina game and the Syracuse game, I think they go 4-2. Maybe legitimately 5-1. Like, I think if Jordan Travis plays the whole game against Wake Forest and this defense doesn't just give up ridiculous touchdowns, which seemingly they've gotten that out of their system, they could win that game at Wake Forest.
See, man, this it makes me sound like a hater, but when you talk about Jordan Travis like that, and it's valid to a certain degree, and you're talking about like 5-1, so this is like a 10-win team. Like if he's healthy,
because they would have lost to they're losing to Florida, they're losing to Clemson, maybe losing at Boston College, losing to NC State. I still think it's a 7-win team, but you flip it around. So it's just ridiculous they went 2-4 during this stretch. Again, it all comes back to that one game. I'm not going to bring it up again. But the point being, I don't see them regressing, even if the record doesn't look great if they go 2-4 again over this next 6-game stretch. I don't think that means they regressed. It's a different 6 games. They're tougher teams. They might end up this season, they might lose to Florida, 31-15. But be a better team than the one that lost to Jacksonville State. A lot better team.
But
that's all. That's kind of the point. I don't see how they could regret. I don't foresee them regressing. I just think maybe if Jordan Travis becomes a turnover machine, or if the defense starts giving up those wide open, ridiculous plays in the middle of the field over and over and over again, like just gives up touchdowns. As long as they can make these teams work for it, like they did against North Carolina. The Syracuse quarterback, that was goofy, but what are you going to do? What they did the second half against Louisville, if they can look somewhat like that, then I don't think you'd call it a regression no matter what the end result ends up looking like.
Man, but if they did go like 2-4 from here on out, though.
Well, but that's probably the.
But that includes UMass, though, right? So you're being UMass and NC State. And you're going to lose, so you're going to lose to Miami, you're going to lose to Florida, you're going to lose to Clemson, you're going to lose to Boston.
Who'd you think they were going to win?
I'm
2
cool
weeks
with
ago?
it, but literally for the last 3 hours of this podcast, including today, we're talking about how awesome they are, and no. I don't like that. I don't like when people do that. My ex-wife used to do that to me all the time. Nobody on this podcast has talked about how awesome Florida State is, but they're better. And let's not conflate the two. Let's not act like I'm sitting here saying they should be ranked. They got robbed. They didn't even get a receiving votes this week. They're an average football team. They're in the 50s in my man Femrau's rankings. They're in the 50s. They're an average football team. They're not terrible though. Okay.
3 weeks ago they were terrible.
Right.
They were awful. They were an insult to all of our eyes. They've gotten better. So if they were going to regress, what that would look like is a bunch of turnovers, false starts, penalties. They've cleaned all that. They haven't cleaned it all up, but they've gotten better in all those. And then the defense just giving up such easy, ridiculously easy touchdowns. If they can eliminate that for the most part, or limit it, I don't see a regression happening, even if they finish 4-8.
Yeah, man, they just beat a first-round NFL quarterback with a extremely productive, skilled wide receiver. So you kind of feel like this defense, something has clicked. I don't know how much more stress they're going to get from other teams on the schedule. But I would just say, the reason why I would think that they won't regress, and again, wins and losses is still part of how we should judge them. But to your point, yes, it can look good. You can play Florida tough and lose, but and still say, well, that's not a regression just because you lost. Because God knows what the score would have been last year.
Oh, my God. What would it have been? Would he have been an ass and tried to score 80? In a COVID year, all these kids going through that just to get on the field, would he have tried to put up 80 on them?
Yeah, because he would have been like, I had to do it because I'm trying to get into the playoff. Hopefully, if we
I
can
want
beat
Pitts
Alabama
to win the
next
Heisman.
Week. Yeah.
So he had 5 touchdown catches.
Oh gosh, thank you.
Yeah, and think about what Dabo wanted to do or would have done. They saved themselves a couple of beatings.
I think we're gonna not quit. We're gonna fight. And I know that's just we don't want to be patted on the back for that. That's our baseline, bare minimum expectation. That's why they won't regress. Because they should match up well with the remaining teams on this schedule. I think Florida can maybe get a little bit 3-score, 4-score ugly. But I mean, if all these other teams, if Georgia Tech and NC State and if all these teams are putting a scare or beating Clemson, no reason to think you can't be in the fourth quarter against Clemson. And it's going to be because you have a talented quarterback that's putting stress on them, and you have guys that aren't going to quit.
And you also have a defense that doesn't just give teams 80-yard touchdowns.
Yeah. I don't know if – I mean, Clemson still has some wide receivers that are a little bit scary, I think.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So that's what you wonder about. That's the main thing I want to see. I'm a believer in the offense now. Now it might surprise me and make me mad a couple of 3 weeks from now. And I don't expect much against Clemson, but Miami, NC State, I expect them to put up points and yards against those two teams. But I think we like the direction of the offense. The defense is what I want to see as far as is this who they are now?
Yeah.
A bend but don't break. Don't just snap in half. A bend but don't snap in half like they did all of last year and a good portion of this season. Make teams earn it. Just make teams earn it, man. Because that was what's so frustrating about last year and some parts of this year. Like the Notre Dame first possession. How's the guy just run wide open? Just nobody near him. Like, and that happened against Louisville. And it just kept happening. And against North Carolina, it didn't. Right? It didn't. And against Syracuse, it really didn't. Their running back ran crazy, or their quarterback ran crazy, but they didn't just give up wide open touchdowns. So just keep that up, man. That's not asking for a lot.
As far as UMass, Mark continues, assuming we come out and take care of business early, which are the younger or less experienced guys that you want to see play later in the game? Everyone will say Chubba, but there are probably 2 or 3 other guys who have impressed you at practice but haven't played much or at all. Thank you and the Warchant staff sincerely for all you do. And how much more fun is it to do your shows and write columns after some wins? This Saturday, I'll be breaking down film for my son's flag football team. I'm a volunteer analyst. No days off. Seriously, though, enjoy your Saturday off, boys. You deserve it. Go Noles. Yeah, it's been a fun week. It's a good week. Good week.
It is, man. It's enjoyable to do this again. And that game was enjoyable.
It's always been enjoyable.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like
right.
I don't like. I feel like half the time I'm on this show, I sound like I do when I'm getting on to Brady. Like that tone in my voice, the anger mixed with frustration, mixed with just exacerbation, if that's a word. I don't think it is. It could be. It's not exacerbated. When you get exacerbated. Yeah. No, that's not what I'm looking. Exasperated.
Exasperated.
Not exacerbate. You don't want to exacerbate a problem. No. Golly, Clark, you do this for a living. You talk and write for a living. You don't know words.
So much easier to write. You would have nailed it writing. You would have spelled it right correctly.
I think so. Exactly right. So yeah, that's what it sounds like when they're 0-4 and when it's just like admonishing. And I don't like that tone in my voice. It's like the tone I'm talking with now. I've been doing that for 5 weeks. It feels good to like be uplifted and joyful and kind of think about, yeah, man, they could get to 5 wins. And if they get to 5 wins, they could get to a bowl. Yeah. And then you're building on some things. You feel good about things. So, yeah, it has been nice. And Saturday, I think it's official now, Aslan. I am going to the Georgia-Kentucky football game.
All right. Awesome, dude. Yeah. Good, man. I like that. Yeah.
It'll be the first time I've seen the number 1 team in the country play since, I guess, that 2014 game against Clemson.
It's been
with Smag at quarterback. Yeah. I think they were still number 1 before that great Mississippi State team overtook them. Anyway,
I like to see Marqueason Douglas. I like to see him out there catch a pass or two. He's fun to watch.
Shaheem Brown.
Okay, Shaheem Brown.
Like to see him get some run.
Parker Self. Parker Self. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Go listen
walk on receiver that makes plays at practice.
Go listen to Ron Dugans' interview from Tuesday and the anecdote he shared about Parker Self. It'll make you laugh.
Okay.
All right. So yeah. And I think Chubba will get in the game too, probably, if it goes according to plan. But yeah, give me Marqueason and Parker Self. I think it'd be kind of cool to see those guys run around and do some stuff. Otherwise, defensively, I guess Shaheem would probably be the guy. That's a young
Peyton. I want to see Peyton at defensive end.
There we go. Now we're cooking with grease. All right, let's see if we can hustle through the rest of these since we are going to be maybe a day down on doing shows. Seminole Life. Wake up, fellas. Who's your favorite Nole of all time? Who's your favorite obscure and or forgotten Nole of all time? For me, this is Seminole Life. Peter Warwick, as I was a teenager in those years, and Sam Cowart. Big hits. Okay. Go Noles.
Only in a place like Florida State could somebody like Sam Cowart be considered obscure. He was like an All-American and a second-round pick. But I get it. Like he's not a name that comes up immediately when you think of all-time greats, and he was great. He was good once he got healthy. Yeah, that's a good one. I like Sam Cowart. I was always partial to Rock Preston. That was my guy. He was Warwick Dunn's backup, but he was awesome. And then my favorite all-time player would probably be, just because of where I was in my life and childhood, was Dion. Just because he was I was a young teenager when he burst onto the scene. So, Dion would probably be the all-time.
It's always a coin flip between Jameis and Kelvin. It's just something about Kelvin for some reason, man. I don't know. I just always believed that it was going to work out somehow, and it did in a big way in 13. So, and just just being from the muck, man. Like shout out Palm Beach County, and then obscure. Take Cody. Just take Cody. Just going to cover you, man. Just going to cover you like white on rice.
Yeah, he was great. In 2000, he was legitimately great. He was one of the he's never mentioned with like the Deons and T-Bucks and Jalen's, but his 2000 season, I would put that up against any of them. Like he made big play after big play. He forced that fumble in the Orange Bowl. They gave Florida State a chance to go win the game, take the lead, which they did, only to give the lead right back and then miss the field goal. But that was all Tay Cody when Miami tried to run out the clock. Had two interceptions against Florida that year. Just a great cornerback. And a kind of, that's a good one. That's a good one. He was an All-American too, though. Again, that's what you're doing with Florida State. Like the obscure ones that we want to mention are all guys that were All-Americans.
Hey, everybody, MyBookie is where you should be putting your money down if you want to, for entertainment purposes and for excitement purposes, spice up your week when it comes to betting on sporting events. MyBookie's lock of the season is in the books. Hopefully you all got in on it with that Vegas-Seattle NHL opener, but it's not too late to put it down on some other stuff. If you did win, take those winnings, pat yourself on the back, and use it towards NFL picks for Week 6. Maybe get involved in that Cardinals-Browns game. Maybe get Stephanie on the show to give us a breakdown of the Browns.
Right.
Don't miss out on winning season. Head to mybookie.ag, use the promo code WARCHANT, and you're double your funds. Your first deposit will get doubled right then and there. That promo code, again, is WARCHANT, so you can double your funds to double your winnings. You can bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. Still, I think Bryce Young, I got to look at the Heisman standings right now. I don't know who exactly is the odds-on favorite, but that might not be as big of a slam dunk as we all thought it was. Again, bet anything, anytime, anywhere with mybookie.ag. Let's go to Nole Girl 30, Corey. Nole Girl 30. Good morning, Corey and Aslan. I've been meaning to post this for a while, and since you mentioned him the other day, Jared Jackson, I thought it was time. Over the years, you have negatively referenced Jared Jackson several times, and those of us who know and love him, well, we just don't like it. I get it. He was a walk-on, but you have to understand the story from our perspective, from the small town of Monticello and the extremely small private school of Osceola Christian Academy. Is that Osceola? Is that how you pronounce it? Did I say it right?
I think so, okay. Yeah.
Of which I am an alum and now a teacher. We don't often have much to brag about, especially in football. However, we do have alum Elizabeth Hightower pitching lights out in softball for the school down in Gainesville. Anyway, my point being, we were so proud of what Jared accomplished. It was exciting seeing what he did every week. So maybe consider the backstory sometimes. That is all I'm saying. Despite that, I always enjoy the show and listen every week. Go Noles.
Hey, well, it's good that she can fight through that and still like us, or at least like you. And I want to clarify something. When I take shots at him, I am not taking shots at him. I'm taking shots at his coach, only because of who was on the bench. Like he just Tamorian Terry was not going to play. That's been the running joke with me for now 4 years.
Yeah,
is that Tamorian Terry was not going to play. he was going to play the walk-on. And he was a walk-on. Like, I don't know that he was awarded a scholarship. He was a very good special teams player and important. And we wrote a story. Like, I wrote a nice feature on him. Like,
very nice.
I'm not trying to badmouth the kid and make fun of the kid at all. And he's not a kid. He's a young man now. But the fact that you had a kind of freaky wide receiver that you just would not play, and that you would rather play a guy that, look, I'm not telling any secrets out of school, was not quite the athlete that Tamorrion Terry was. And we never quite understood that. Jimbo left before we could get an explanation for that. So that's all. That's all. I'm not trying to take shots at him. He was a Seminole. He's a walk-on that played for a long time and played a lot on special teams. Just always thought it was odd that they chose to play him in games and not Tamorrion Terry.
I think so much of who I am on this show is because I spent like 7 years working in local television, and you just have to uplift everybody. Like, everybody does great. You're covering a local football game, and it's two schools in your viewing area. So it's not like I work in Tallahassee and I'm doing a football game that's, Lincoln High School versus Venice High School or, Cocoa Beach High. So I can't just, everything's like, they tried their hardest, but in the end, it was just not enough. They fall 42-7. So like every time, everything you got to spin it positive. You got to spin it good. Mom and dad are watching. So I'm like, all right, man, I'm doing college now, and I can just kind of not have to make everybody happy all the time. So you guys got me at my worst. But point taken, Nole Girl 30. Shout out to Jared. Shout out to Osceola Christian Academy. And shout out to your alum. Hopefully she does well. But not when she's playing Florida State, though.
Right. We don't want her to do too well.
Yeah. Random_John. Good morning, Corey and Aslan. And all of you, actually says good morning, Aslan, Corey, and all of you beautiful people listening. Thank you for that, Random_John. All you beautiful people listening, we all know war chant loving people are beautiful. Prove me wrong. Anyway, how about that win? I admit that when the score reached 10-0, I, like most, I am certain, believed we were to witness another one of those infamous implosions. Yet, our FSU football team told me to stuff it and get out of here with that nonsense. I watched in awe as our team beat the heart out of UNC. It was glorious. It was reminiscent of my childhood days rooting for our team. My question to you is, what exactly changed for our team? Would you say it was more coaches trusting players, players trusting coaches? Since the Louisville game, there has been a fundamental shift in our team, and I am doing my best to understand how we go from losing to Jacksonville State to beating a team for which we were a 3-score underdog. What do you believe changed? Do you believe the positive change is sustainable? What is your reason for your answer? Remember, beautiful people, drink the Luna coffee, eat Zaxby, subscribe to War Chant, tell your friends and family to subscribe as well. They will be better people for it, and Ira might come to your house and leave a sixer of Red Stripe during the holidays. Go Noles.
Ooh, yeah. We're going to give that we're offering that as a giveaway.
What is it,
coming
Corey?
Up during Christmas season?
Again,
I don't know. That was a lot of questions.
What is it? What happened?
I don't know. The simple answer to me is the quarterback play and the offense, but that doesn't explain the defense. Because again, look, man, the defense against Louisville in that first half was a joke. They were going to give up 62 points. And all those, they were all wide open looking. It just looked so easy. There was nothing aggressive or impressive or anything about the way that defense played in the first half. And since then, they've been pretty darn good. For them, really good. But I don't know what flipped at halftime. And I don't know, other than them maybe, just saying this is what we're going to do. We're using Jordan Travis's legs. And we're going to use the RPO, or like the other poster said, just the RO. They threw it 13 times, man. Like, instead of how many times they throw it against Jacksonville State? So I think they've just figured out, nope, this is what we're going to do. Remember that play against North Carolina? Their first touchdown drive when it was 10-0. They had a 3rd and 8, I think, or a 3rd and 9, and they just handed it to Corbin.
Yeah.
On a 3rd and 8 play, and he got like 15 yards. Like that to me is like, this is just what we're going to do. Yeah. If we see numbers, we're going to run it, and we're going to block you, and we're going to get this first down. And they've been able to do that these last 2.5 weeks, I guess. The second half offensively against Louisville wasn't great, but, it was something. But, yeah, I don't know. I wish I could tell you. I don't think they stopped believing. But, man, when you lose to Jacksonville State, that hurts everybody's feelings. And it's hard to get back up when you lose not only who you lost to, but how you lost. Yuck. Like, that's hard to bounce back from that. And then the Louisville game, I think they were still in a funk. They were in a 2.5-week funk. And then, for whatever reason, at halftime of that game, that funk got flushed. And they've been a decent to good team since then. But I can't explain it. I don't know. It's cool that it's happened. But also, the fact that I can't explain it means I can't tell you for sure that it's going to keep up. I don't know the reasoning. There's not really one thing you can say or point to. The quarterback played awesome on Saturday. If he continues to play like that, you're in every game you play. But, we'll see if he continues to play like that. I'm a believer, though.
34 dropbacks, 34 pass attempts against Jacksonville State.
It's crazy.
In case you're
crazy.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I was going to...
And would they have 15 against North Carolina?
I don't even remember.
I mean, I know they ran more play. They didn't run that many plays against North Carolina, but that's crazy. They just miscalculated and made mistakes at the beginning of the year. They have like a good coaching staff that we hope they are figured it out, and they made an adjustment. They made a change, and now they're a different looking football team.
I think maybe some of it defensively. I don't know. Is it playing teams that might be a little bit more one-dimensional, maybe not as balanced? Because Syracuse obviously couldn't throw the ball well. For them, it was running, and then the quarterback just scrambling and making things happen. North Carolina really couldn't run the ball all that well. Credit to Florida State Florida State's got a good run defense, so when you can't run well against Florida State, some of it is obviously on you, but a lot of it's that Florida State's good at stopping the run. But, they simply knew that, North Carolina was going to have to drop back, and they were good on their keys. And when you're playing a team that's a little bit more one-dimensional, because I know they wanted to shut down Notre Dame's run game, which they did, but then they couldn't find a way to, so that's the thing, too. They played a one-dimensional team almost. They were one-dimensional throwing the ball, which is not what we were expecting. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a great mystery.
As Norvell said after the game, and he's after in the immediate post game, and then a couple maybe on Monday too. Like they're really kind of decimated with injuries. Like they were down 3 defensive linemen essentially. They're down 3 guys that would have played in that secondary, at least 2, and they're playing guys that they don't. I don't know how much they wanted to play Akeem Dent on Saturday at safety, or how much Sidney Williams was supposed to be the starter. But that's who they're playing, and they're playing guys, and they're winning with guys that maybe they didn't even think were going to be in their starting 11. So that's encouraging too. They're finding ways to win, even when some of their best players are out.
All right, last one. We made it. It's
okay,
Walker.
Let's do it.
Walking Nole 01, Rise and Shine Noles. I was excited to see us play great against North Carolina. I'm going to be watching North Carolina versus Miami to see how we can match up against the U. Also, watching Clemson take on Syracuse. Like you, Aslan, when Jordan Travis broke out with that long touchdown run, I had a feeling that we could win for sure. Thanks for all you do. Corey, go watch that Georgia game. I sure wish I could. Also, Aslan, I know you don't usually go to the CP on Friday nights before home games, but I'm going to keep saying I'll see both of you there before the Miami game, trying to speak it into existence. See y'all then. All right, man. I'll be there. I'll go.
Don't be a baby. Yeah, don't be a baby.
I'm not being a baby. I'll go. I'll be there. I'll be there, Walker. I will be there. All right, we're done, Corey. That's it.
All right, so you're going to be there at CP. He didn't have a question, right? He was just saying that that's when he believed.
Yeah, just
I'm going to the Georgia game. It's my first time being in that stadium since 1997 for a football game. Well, for anything. Why else would I have been there for flipping graduation? Come on. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited to take Brady to his first Georgia game, or just to see that atmosphere and feel that. Maybe if we see Travis Hunter there, we're going to tell him, what is he doing there? He needs to be in Tallahassee, and he better be Instagramming Jarvis Brownlee at halftime. But we'll be on the lookout for that. But it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to that. It should be a fun environment.
I was going to ask you this, although we're like 70 minutes into a show. like, you had that bond with your father because you went to all these sporting events together, but like you guys went to Florida State football games and he's not a journalist. He wasn't a journalist. Like he was watching that game as just a rabid Florida State loyal diehard fan. Like does Brady see that in you? Like when you guys go to Braves games? Like I wonder if he's going to get that same – he's not going to get the same experience you had. Because, you take him to Florida State games, but then you're in the press box, or you'll watch it with him in the stands. But you're not, you're not like, holding, what's going on? It's ridiculous.
Right.
You know?
It is different. I think at the Braves games, he gets a little bit out of me. Like the last Braves game we went to against the Phillies when they clinched the division, he got to see me more as a fan. Where I'm like, of course, like throw a strike or whatever. Come on, Blue. Like I did that a little bit, but I'm so like dry and sardonic and not all that excitable that I wonder sometimes that am I slowly killing his fandom? Like he wants to be excited and his dad just clearly isn't. And his dad always thinks that anytime you get excited about something, you're jinxing it. So I'm sure I'm having a negative impact on him this way, and he'll probably be talking to someone laying on a couch in 15 years about it. But I do wonder about that. Like my dad was a much better sports dad than I am, because we just sat and we were fans together. And number one, I can't sit with him at most times. Like, and he comes to a Florida State game, I'm in the press box, so I can't really sit with him. And I don't get all that excited. But I've already made a deal with myself. If at some point the Braves are in a game-clinching World Series game where they can, if they win the World Series and it's at home, maybe if it's not even at home, I'm taking them and we're going.
Anywhere.
And we're watching and we're going to celebrate together when they win it. And I'm dumping champagne all over myself. Again.
Hell yeah. I co-sign to that, Court. Whatever I can do to make that work, let me know. I'll do it.
Okay, you got it, buddy.
We just won't do a show that day is really all I can do, so I'll do that. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Don't forget, Jeff Cameron Show coming back up 1 p.m., 3 p.m., live on YouTube, as well as 93.3 FM. We'll have practice updates, interviews also on the website, and stay tuned for possible announcement of live show podcast Wednesday night. We'll see. Again, he's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thanks so much for listening to Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee. Come explore our world of coffee. DeLuna Coffee features over 24 different blends. DeLuna's unique roasts can be delivered ground finely for drip coffee makers, coarse for the craft crowd, untouched as a whole bean, or even in convenient K-Cups. Founded in 2014 by the Lemmix family, Ed and Brett are FSU alums and boosters who are extending a special offer to all listeners. Use the promo code WARCHANT15 for a 15% discount. Visit DeLunaCoffee.com and check out their Facebook and Instagram.